Good morning. All members will please come to the floor. All members come to the floor, please. The hour for convening having arrived. Our convening having arrived. All members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? I believe Rules Committee, most of y'all are here. I believe most of the Rule Committees are here, so all members, if you'll please come to the floor and take your seats. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? Well, good Monday morning to you. Hope y'all all had a good weekend. Boy, the weather was really pretty. Feeling like March, so I had a little wind down my way. I could still be home flying my kite on this Monday. Still like to do that. Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning is obviously no stranger to this house, but he'll be better and further introduced by the lady from the 45th House District, Representative Sharon Cooper. Representative Cooper.
Good morning, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. It's truly an honor to introduce Mac Jackson this morning. And I say that not just as what we say always when we're introducing the pastor of the day, that it's an honor, but that it's truly an honor for me to introduce Mac, who is a colleague and a friend. When I first came to this body, I was told that it was sort of like a fraternity or sorority, to get to know everybody on both sides of the aisle, and that you could travel anywhere in the state, and if you needed help, you could call your colleague and they would help you. Well, as the years passed, that never happened to me, and I got to know everybody on both sides of the aisle as colleagues and many of them as friends, like Mac is to me. But I served on the Rural Caucus Committee for several years, and we toured all over this state, and we went to tiny little towns. I found out what love bugs were in Meta, Georgia, when my windshield was covered with them, and when you got out, they tried to attack you. Those little things that are so irritating. And I learned what it really meant to be a friend and someone like a sorority or fraternity member, to have that person step forward and help you. I had car trouble, remember it, Mac? And as always, after the meeting, I had stayed and talked with the people that had come from those communities to be at the committee, because I didn't have any real reason to head back home. I don't farm or have another job that I had to go to. And so it was pretty late, and there weren't many of us left. And the car trouble, I found the car trouble. And Mac came to my rescue. And I will be forever grateful for that, because it was a tiny little town in Georgia, and it was late in the evening, and I don't know what I would have done if I'd been there and Mac hadn't helped me. Well, he's come to my rescue again today. Unfortunately, the pastor that I had invited is having an emergency root canal right now, and so he couldn't be here. And once again, Mac has come to my rescue. He is truly a friend, a great colleague, and a very honorable member of this body. And I thank you again, Mac, and I give to you Mac Jackson to do our opening.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chair Lady Cooper, for this opportunity. When I got the call from Jacob this morning, I thought Jacob was going to introduce me. I could just hear him in his accent now. But Chair Lady Cooper did a great job, and I thank you for the honor to be able to stand here. Now, as she said, I'm not her pastor, but she is invited to come to our church. We're in little Untitled, Georgia, right off Highway 15 south. If you ever come in that way, we're right there in Untitled, Georgia. But it's an honor to be here, Mr. Speaker, to speak to my colleagues today. Now, I didn't bring my Bible, so I just have to go with what I know. Usually when I do that, it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes to finish a sermon when I just go off the top of my head. But as you know, Joseph in the Bible is one of my favorite stories, the story of Joseph. And you know, Joseph had a dysfunctional family. His family, because of the dream that God had put in his heart, his family eventually sold him into the house of Potiphar. And I'll pick it up in Genesis 39, and it says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him at the hands of the Ishmaelites. So Joseph was in captivity, but he was in Potiphar's house. But the Bible says, and the Lord was with Joseph. So it doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in. All that matters is that God is with you. And the Bible says, and his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. You know, people can actually see when you're walking with God. You don't have to put a sign on the back. You don't have to put a t-shirt on. If you're walking with the Lord, there's something about the anointing of the Holy Spirit that will cause people to see when the Lord is with you. And that's what happened to Joseph. His master saw that the Lord was with him. And not only was the Lord with him, but he made things to prosper in his hand. And then in verse 4 it says, and Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put into his hands. He saw so much grace on Joseph until he turned everything over to Joseph in his house and everything that he had. And it says, and it came to pass from the time that he made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. You see, when you do it the way God tells you to do it, God will bless others for your sake. And you know, sometimes I just ask God to bless my neighbor. I ask God to bless the congregation at our church. I ask God to bless the state of Georgia, to bless these United States of America. Because if he can bless the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake, then it would behoove us to think about somebody else sometime, to think about others. Jesus said, when you do it to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. So it would behoove us to ask God to bless others sometime. Don't just think about yourself all the time, but ask God to bless somebody else, because it says he blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. Now think about this. Before Joseph got there, Potiphar's corn wasn't growing. But because of the blessing of the Lord, Potiphar's corn started growing. His cows started moving, if you will. Things started happening around Potiphar's house because Joseph had a heart for God. And Joseph wouldn't get angry. He wouldn't get upset with people just because they did wrong to him. Instead, he did what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. He said, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So Joseph stayed true to what God required of him. And I believe in life, if we'll just do it the way God says to do it, and stop trying to be our own God, and stop trying to play Holy Ghost Jr., and do it the way God says to do it. Because God knows what he's doing. He created us in his image and his likeness. And he knows exactly how we're supposed to live in the earth. All I want to hear him say is, well done, thy good and faithful servant. So Joseph stayed true to what God required of him. He never lost sight of his purpose and the destiny that God had planned for him. Even when Mrs. Potiphar lied on him. Even when Mr. Potiphar put him in prison. And you know, I don't believe that Mr. Potiphar believed Mrs. Potiphar. I think he just had to do something because his wife made that accusation. I believe his mother told him not to marry her anyway. He knew her. His mother had warned him, don't marry that woman. But because he was married to her, because she made that accusation, he had to do something to save face, if you will. But in Genesis, I'm going to hurry on. I told you it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes to preach this. But in Genesis chapter 50, when his brothers came to him, after he had been elevated to prime minister of Egypt, and when his brothers thought that he would punish them for all the evil that they had done unto him, he asked a very important question in verse 19. He said, fear not, for am I in the place of God? You see, in Romans 12 and 19, Paul told us, he said, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Now I want you to notice he didn't say revenge, but he said vengeance. There's a big difference in revenge and vengeance, if you will. See, vengeance means that God will bring justice in his time and in his own way. It means what Paul said in Romans 8 and 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So Joseph told his brothers, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. So Joseph knew his destiny. He knew his purpose. So you couldn't make him come down to a level that God didn't require of him. And he said this when he had his two sons. in Genesis 41 and 51. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And in verse 52, the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. My brothers and my sisters, if you just hold on to God's unchanging hand, he'll bring destiny to pass in your life. He'll cause purpose to come to pass in your life. But you got to be mindful to do it God's way. If he tells you to love those that hate you, you got to love them. You got to pray for those who despitefully use you. And I know that's hard on you, but you got to do it, my brothers and my sisters, if you want to do it God's way. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you because this is a day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. When we think about our brother, Terry England, Lord, we ask for your blessing upon him and upon his family. Bring him through to a speedy recovery, Father. And Lord, we ask you to bless the speaker of this house, Speaker John Burns, because we know that it takes your wisdom to lead in this state, Father. And because of your wisdom, Father, we have faith in you that you will bring purpose and destiny to pass in all of our lives. For it's in Jesus' name that we pray. And everyone said, amen. Amen. Shall we pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Strong, man. Brother Matt, if I can say it that way, you bless us all with your friendship, and you bless this house and this state by your service to the people in your district and to all of our state. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for being a friend. You bless us again. Doorkeepers, you can unlock the doors, open the doors. Members, you can join Matt at his desk, or you can join him in the South Addy room if you'd like to take a photo with him. We just, again, appreciate him being here and doing what he does every day for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our doctor of the day is brought to us today by Representative Inga Willis of the 55th. It's Dr. Dorsey Norwood. So if you need to see the physician, Dr. Norwood is down in the aid station. Be glad to see you and administer to your needs, whatever they may be. The chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, Chairman Hilton, is recognized. Chairman Hilton.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal the previous legislative day. We found it to be good.
Awesome. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Hearing none, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Hearing none, the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day?
Representative Illustration of the 104th moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. Thanks, members. If you'll take it down an octave or two and continue to have your discussions, we will have our first reading. Mr. Clerk, will you first read the bills and resolutions? Mr. Clerk, will you read?
House Bill 682 by Representative Mitchell, the 88th. Bill be titled Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 10, and Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the death penalty.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 683 by Representative Gullett of the 19th. Bill be titled Act to amend Code Section 824 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to certain residential fire sprinkler requirements.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 684 by Representative Taylor of the 92nd, Hughley the 141st, Alexander the 66th, Williams the 168th, Holly the 116th. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 10 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to barbers and cosmetologists.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 685 by Representative Gamble the 15th and Scoggins the 14th. Bill be titled Act to provide for the creation of one or more community improvement districts in Bartow County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 686 by Representative Wiedauer, 121st, Martin of the 49th, Dubnik of the 29th, and Williams of the 148th. Bill be titled Act to amend Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to state government.
Higher education.
House Bill 687 by Representative Crawford of the 89th, Oliver of the 84th, Willis the 55th, Draper of the 90th, Fry of the 122nd. Bill be titled Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, and Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to security deposits.
Judiciary.
House Bill 688 by Representative Crawford of the 89th, Holcomb of the 101st, Oliver of the 84th, and Westbrook of the 163rd. Bill be titled Act to amend Code Section 5, 3, 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to manner for service of process.
Judiciary.
House Bill 690 by Representative Newton of the 127th, Howell the 50th, Cooper the 45th, Stevens the 164th, and Hawkins the 27th. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 64, Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to regulation and licensure of pharmacy benefit managers.
Insurance.
House Bill 692 by Representative Newton of the 127th and Hawkins the 27th. Bill be titled Act to amend Article 3, Chapter 26 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to mandatory reporting requirements for nurses.
Health.
House Bill 693 by Representative Carpenter the 4th. Bill be titled Act to amend Code Section 23411 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to definitions relative to tuition equalization grants.
Higher education.
House Bill 694 by Representative Lupton of the 83rd, Lim of the 98th, Wilkerson of the 38th. Bill be titled Act to amend Article 14 to Chapter 2 and Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education grants.
Education.
House Bill 695 by Representative Santos of the 117th, Reese of the 140th, Bell of the 75th, Berry the 56th, Flournoy the 74th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Part 3 of Article 7 of Chapter 3 and Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Student Finance Authority.
Higher education.
House Bill 696 by Representative Santos of the 117th, Smith of the 18th, Berry the 56th, Neal the 79th, Fry the 122nd, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Resolution 449 by Representative Smith of the 18th, Gunner of the 8th, Kelly the 16th, Reeves of the 99th, and Roberts of the 52nd. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Modernization of the Traffic Violations Bureau.
Motor vehicles.
House Resolution 450 by Representative Wiedauer, the 121st, Martin, the 49th, Williams, the 168th, Williams, the 148th, Hughley, the 141st, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to authorize the General Assembly.
Higher education.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Bearden, the 30th, and James, the 28th. A bill being titled Act to amend Code Section 1562 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the number of judges in Superior Courts.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 145 by Senator Burns, the 23rd, Jones, the 22nd, Anderson, the 24th. The bill be titled Act to amend Code Section 1562 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating the number of judges of superior courts.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 152 by Senator Dalzell, the 27th, Kennedy, the 18th, Gooch, the 51st, Robertson, the 29th, Brass, the 6th, and others. The bill be titled an Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 2B of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act.
Education.
Senate Bill 153 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Kennedy the 18th, Jones of the 22nd, Cowser to the 46th, Parent of the 44th, and others. Bill be titled an Act to amend the Official Code of Georgia Annotated so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions in
Code revisions.
Senate Bill 238 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd. A bill be titled Act to amend the Act creating the Board of Commissioners for Rockdale County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 657 by Representative Hagan of the 156th, Dempsey of the 13th, Cameron of the 1st, Buckner of the 137th, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to health. House Bill 658 by Representative Holcomb of the 101st, Hughley of the 141st, Miller of the 62nd, Owl of the 50th, Draper of the 90th, and others. A bill relating to insurance. House Bill 659 by Representative Green of the 154th, Taylor of the 173rd, Hawkins of the 27th, Jaspers of the 11th, Hagan of the 156th. A bill relating to medical professionals for rural assistance. House Bill 660 by Representative Cox of the 28th, Jaspers of the 11th, Rice of the 139th, Scoggins of the 14th, McDonald of the 26th. A bill relating to employees' insurance and benefit plans, public assistance, general provisions relative to state government. House Bill 661 by Representative Byrd of the 20th, Gahan of the 81st, Barrett of the 24th, Ridley of the 22nd, Chastain of the 7th, and others. A bill relating to elections and primaries. House Bill 662 by Representative Osteen of the 169th and Ford of the 170th. A bill relating to eligibility to receive tax credits. House Bill 663 by Representative McCollum of the 30th and Powell of the 33rd. A bill relating to powers and duties of Board of Natural Resources, designation of Commissioner or Director as Board's agent, and power and duties of the Director. House Bill 664 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd, Reeves of the 99th, Panich of the 51st, Hilton of the 48th. A bill relating to property owners associations. House Bill 665 by Representative McCollum of the 30th, Cooper of the 45th, Taylor of the 173rd, Illustration of the 104th. A bill relating to general provisions of the Department of Public Health, County Boards of Health, Administration of Enforcement. House Bill 666 by Representative Douglas of the 78th, Neal of the 79th, Leverett of the 123rd, Smith of the 18th, Thorney of the 74th. A bill relating to number of judges of superior courts. House Bill 667 by Representative Anderson of the 10th, Irwin of the 32nd, Gamble of the 15th, Scoggins of the 14th, Bonner of the 73rd, and others. A bill relating to commercial driver's licenses. House Bill 668 by Representative Thomas of the 21st, Seabaugh of the 34th, Washburn of the 144th, McCollum of the 30th, Dempsey of the 13th, and others. A bill relating to crimes and offenses, rights of persons with disabilities, uniform rules of the road. House Bill 69 by Representative Meeks of the 178th, Burchett of the 176th, Hagan of the 156th, Corbett of the 174th. A bill relating to capital outlay funds under the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 670 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Hughley of the 141st, Carter of the 93rd, Evans of the 57th, Holcomb of the 101st. A bill relating to buildings and housing, commerce and trade, labor, industrial relations, law enforcement officers, agencies, public officers and employees, state government. House Bill 671 by Representative Rice of the 139th, Fleming of the 114th, McDonald of the 26th, Kelly of the 16th, Smith of the 18th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions as pertaining to torts. House Bill 672 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Bazemore of the 69th, Miller of the 62nd, Bennett of the 94th. A bill relating to the Department of Public Health. House Bill 673 by Representative Lim of the 98th, the bill relating to procedure for sentencing and imposition of punishment. House Bill 679 by Representative Sanchez of the 42nd, Fry of the 122nd, Cummings of the 39th, Bell of the 75th, Taylor of the 92nd. A bill relating to illegal and void contracts. House Bill 680 by Representative Sanchez of the 42nd, Tran of the 80th, Owl of the 50th, Clark of the 108th, Schofield of the 63rd, and others. A bill relating to labor and industrial relations. House Bill 681 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Cannon of the 58th, Drenner of the 85th, and Barnes of the 86th. A bill relating to name changes. House Bill 689 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Campbell of the 35th, Hilton of the 48th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Fry of the 122nd, and others. A bill relating to Housing Trust Fund for the Homeless. House Bill 691 by Representative Crowe of the 118th, Smith of the 70th, Camp of the 135th, New of the 40th, Bonner of the 73rd. A bill relating to emergency management. House Resolution 426 by Representative Schofield of the 63rd, Jackson of the 68th, Davis of the 87th, Canada of the 58th, Burnell of the 77th, and others. A resolution urging the General Assembly to support the creation of a Black Maternal Health Caucus. House Resolution 427 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, Meeks of the 178th. Resolution honoring the life of Dr. Esco Hall Jr., dedicating a road in his memory. House Resolution 428 by Representative Reese of the 140th, Hughley of the 141st, Bucket of the 137th, Smith of the 138th, Rice of the 139th. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on the Affordability and Accessibility to Georgia's Legitimation Process. House Bill Resolution 429 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Parsons of the 44th, Drenner of the 85th, Crow of the 118th, Canada of the 172nd. Resolution creating the House Study Committee on Funding for Next Generation 911. House Resolution 448 by Representative Jones of the 60th, a resolution recognizing Women's Golf Week in the state of Georgia. Senate Bill 42 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Eccles of the 49th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Payne of the 54th, Strickland of the 42nd, and others. A bill relating to penalties for violating Code Section 1669 through 16612. Senate Bill 69 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Robertson of the 29th, and Duarte of the 31st, Hatchett of the 50th, and others. A bill relating to banking and finance and depositions and discovery under the Georgia Civil Practice Act. Senate Bill 101 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Hatchett of the 50th, Payne of the 54th, Williams of the 25th, Still of the 48th, and others. A bill relating to control of hazardous conditions, preventable disease, and metabolic disorders. Senate Bill 131 by Senator Hodges of the 3rd, Watson of the 1st, Still of the 48th, Dixon of the 45th, Goodman of the 8th, and others. A bill relating to the Georgia Board of Health Care Workforce. Senate Bill 141 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Hostetler of the 52nd, Albers of the 56th, Kennedy of the 18th, and Andavarte of the 31st, and others. A bill relating to revenue and taxation through second readers.
Members, if I can have your attention, please. Members, if I can have your attention, please. We have several guests this morning that will be joining us for some special recognition in a few minutes. But first, members, if I can have your attention, please. We have a very special guest from Congress, the lady that represents the 14th district here in Georgia is the Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're so proud to have her, and congratulations on her chairing the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. We appreciate you being here with us today. Come back anytime. You're always welcome, and thank you for representing Georgia. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I will. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. You're official.
You ready, Mr. Clark? Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Representative Williams in the 148th District, Chairman of the Committee on Banks and Banking, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Banks and Banking has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 159 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 439 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Williams, 148th District, Chairman. Representative Carpenter of the 4th District, Chairman of the Committee on Creative Arts and Entertainment, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Creative Arts and Entertainment has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House. The following recommendation: House Bill 566, due passed by committee substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Carpenter of the 4th District, Chairman. Representative Karen Mathiak of the 82nd District, Chairman of the Committee on State Planning and Community Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on State Planning and Community Affairs has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. Instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendation: House Bill 689, do pass, respectfully submitted. Representative Karen Mathiak of the 82nd District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Okay, members, we're moving on to morning orders. You'll have a maximum of 2 minutes, a max of 2 minutes. Representative Davis, Representative McQueen, and some other friends are welcome to come down to the come down front. Friends, come on down and join her. She has a very special morning order. We have some distinguished guests in the gallery today.
Yes, he has.
They're easy to spot. They look good in that red, I can tell them that much.
Okay, baby.
The lady's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Sorry. I'm just very excited. All right. So, Mr. Speaker and esteemed colleagues, I rise today with great pride to welcome my beloved sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated to the Georgia State Capitol for Delta Days at the Capitol. Yes, sorors, stand and show yourselves. Since our founding in 1913, Delta women have been on the front lines of social action. Just 2 months after our inception, our founders boldly participated in the Women's Suffrage March in Washington, D.C., ensuring that black women's voices were included in the fight for the right to vote. That legacy of advocacy continues today, especially here in Georgia. Delta women across this state have been instrumental in mobilizing voters, advocating for maternal health protections, and fighting for education equity, ensuring that policies uplift and empower the communities we serve. Their dedication to service, scholarship, and social action makes a lasting impact on Georgia and beyond. As such, we have a resolution commending Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for its 112 years of service and recognizing March 3rd, 2025,
Go ahead.
as Delta Days at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a public service organization founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 visionary collegiate women at Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Okay, that's it.
Yep. And it's an honor to welcome these dynamic women to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well. Welcome, sorors.
I always enjoy Delta Day. Thank y'all for being here. I know y'all come often. We appreciate you. One quick one. Give the lady your attention, please.
Before we leave, I would like to acknowledge some Deltas that we have working here at the state capitol. Our doorkeeper, Lexine Walls.
All right.
And out in the hallway, we have Nellie Miles and Natalie Knight. And we also have Deidre Dukes. And one of our administrative assistants, we have Josephine Lamar. Thank you. Atlanta Alumni Chapter President Rosalind Hopper, welcome. Thank you.
You Deltas are everywhere. Thank y'all for being here. Welcome to the People's House. Thank you for being here. We appreciate y'all. Representative Crawford. Representative Crawford. Representative Amari Crawford is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Friends, today I rise to present to you an incredible group of students from House District 89. I'm going to argue that this is probably the best high school in the state. My high school, my alma mater, Southwest DeKalb High School. Please welcome these incredible students to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well, and someone left their phone in the well. I will keep it right here so you can receive it.
Is that yours, Representative Holly? Representatives Osteen and Burchett. Whip Burchett. Here he is. He's coming up behind you. Recognized for a morning order.
Good morning.
Huh? I got a resolution. Yeah. Give the lady in the wheel your attention, please.
Good morning, colleagues. It is our esteemed pleasure to welcome a state championship softball team in the house today. They are from CCA. Y'all stand up, girls. This is only the second time in the school's 55 years of existence that they've ever won a state championship in softball, and I am so proud of them, and I know Whip Burchett is also so proud of them. Standing behind them is Coach Coram. He actually is 34 years old. He's been at CCA 9 years, and he has brought the second baseball team championship and the school's second softball championship, and we're keeping him. You can't have him. He's great. And then beside of him is our head of school, Miss Sally Bryant. We have a resolution. I think I'm going to ask Whip Burchett to read it for us.
Oh, you're going to have me read it.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for being here, you all. Congratulations to the Citizens Christian Academy girls softball team for winning the 2024 GIAA Class A State Softball Championship and other purposes. Whereas the Citizens Christian Academy girls softball team has established and maintained a proud tradition of excellence with equal emphasis on character and academics. And whereas Junior Gracie Giddens named the 2024 Class A Player of the Year and Class A All-State and District 6 All-Region honors and achieved an exemplary .530 batting average. That's crazy. Whereas freshman Emma Gorley, both earning Class A State state and District 6A region honors, finished the season with an exceptional batting average at .539, 539, 541. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the members of this body congratulate the Citizens Christian Academy girls on their state championship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please give them a round of applause.
Congratulations. That's quite the accomplishment.
We also have to our left, we have the Douglas Coffee County Chamber ambassadors. Y'all stand up. These are our leaders in our community. Thank y'all for being here today. They'll be in Capitol 123 if you want to go see them. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you. Good group from South Georgia here. Thank y'all for making the effort to be here. Douglas and Coffee County are an important part of our state. A lot going on down there. Appreciate it, members. Members, if I can have your attention again, we're going to take a pause from morning orders. You know, we have some great leadership for Georgians here in this house. I'm appreciative every day of the leadership of this house over the years and what it means to great Georgians, making a better Georgia. Now we have another Georgian who's making a difference for this country. And that distinguished person is here with us today. She's come home to Georgia from Washington to address us this morning. A member of the President's Cabinet, Kelly Loeffler, was confirmed last month as the 28th Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Pretty important to Georgia, no doubt about that. Just a little bit about her, which I think all aware of, but let's do it again because it's important. She is an entrepreneur, an executive, a philanthropist, and a former U.S. Senator from our great state of Georgia, who has dedicated over 3 decades during her career to growing businesses and advancing economic opportunity for all. And there's no doubt that she will continue championing these policies in this new role. She cares about her neighbor, as Mac talked about this morning. Ms. Loeffler, congratulations, Kelly, if I may, on your appointment to serve our nation, our newest administrator of the SBA, and welcome home to the People's House right here in Georgia. Come talk to us for a moment. Thank you.
Well, good morning, esteemed members of the Georgia State House. I am truly honored to join you as President Trump's administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration following my confirmation and swearing in less than 2 weeks ago. I'm so grateful to Speaker Burns for allowing me the opportunity to be here with all of you today, and for the support of so many of you following my confirmation. I'm so grateful that Governor Kemp offered me the opportunity to enter public service in 2019. Thank you all for your outstanding work during this session as you fight to improve the lives of all Georgians and to drive our state's economy forward. It's so exciting to be here in my home state and to offer an update on what's going on in Washington as I work alongside President Trump to help implement his America First agenda. Now, we've got a big responsibility to taxpayers. We have a lot to do. We're off to a fast start. So let me give you a quick update on small businesses. Today there are over 1.2 million small businesses in our great state across Georgia. They make up 99% of all of our businesses, and they create 2 out of every 3 new jobs across our country. It's clear why they're called the backbone of the American economy. Now, y'all may know I moved to Georgia in 2002 to work for a startup company, and I spent nearly 2 decades helping grow that into a Fortune 500 company worth $100 billion that today employs 15,000 people. And that's just one example of the power of pro-growth policies that help power the opportunity for millions of Georgians. Now, I suspect that our state is so successful because so many of you have been small businessmen and women yourselves. Not only are you public leaders and public servants, but you've walked in the shoes of our entrepreneurs from agriculture to technology, and you understand what it is to be a risk taker, a job creator, an innovator, and a taxpayer. So let's be real though, small businesses have had a tough 4 years, from record inflation to unprecedented regulatory overreach. So I really applaud your efforts to undo that pain, from cutting taxes to eliminating red tape and advancing tort reform. Your work is clearing away burdens that these small businesses face that crush opportunity and growth. And so you're laying the groundwork for future economic opportunity that will help us thrive. And make no mistake, we have an unprecedented opportunity right now at this time. It is to revive the American dream, and that starts on main streets from Bainbridge to Blairsville. That's the spirit I have taken with me to Washington, D.C. as the only cabinet-level position advocating for small businesses, and that's the source of my day one priorities at the SBA. And each priority is really focused on restoring our founding mission for the SBA, which is to empower small businesses and to grow our economy. That means supporting President Trump's America First agenda, eliminating wasteful spending, cracking down on fraud, cutting red tape, responding to disasters, and restoring accountability. And I'm so proud to work with DOGE to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, to implement President Trump's executive actions to eliminate divisive GEI, gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. Consistent with President Trump's workforce optimization, we've mandated that SBA employees return to work in office full time. We know that small businesses show up and get it done every day, and we will honor their jobs by doing ours. Importantly, America must end our reliance on foreign supply chains from countries like China, and that's why I'm getting to work on Made in America. The vast majority of our manufacturers in America are small businesses. They need our support, but we cannot be there for them if our programs don't work. That's why we're cracking down on fraud. Nearly $200 billion of pandemic-era fraud remains that the last administration failed to prosecute. We're going to hold criminals accountable. We're also banning illegal aliens and hostile foreign nations from benefiting from SBA programs, and only American citizens will have the benefit of our services. I've also announced that we are moving SBA offices out of sanctuary cities and into those that comply with federal law. We're also unique in utilizing a role that we have at the SBA to work across all agencies to eliminate regulation and cut red tape to put America first. Finally, we're ending all voter registration programs within the SBA, reversing the previous administration's order that turned our federal officials into voting activists. Finally, but not least, I want to highlight SBA's important role in disaster assistance. Our agency is on the front lines, and I saw firsthand the devastation after the hurricanes last year. We have been there for Georgians for the last 159 days, and since September 25th, with 27 field centers and 108 staff here in Georgia, we've dispersed over almost $100 million to thousands of Georgians. We also have 3 year-round full-time offices in the state and dozens more across the country. As I conclude, I can assure you that Georgia is well represented in the Trump administration. In fact, VA Secretary Doug Collins and I recently had the opportunity to co-host roundtables for our nation's governors at the White House. I'm so energized by this important work, and I'm confident that with President Trump's leadership, this administration is delivering a golden era of opportunity for Georgia across our main streets and all across America. Thank you so much for the honor of being with you today. With the help of great state legislatures like this one, I have no doubt we will make Main Street great again. Thank you, and God bless you.
We appreciate your work, and you're right. This body is focused on disaster relief and what we can do, and we appreciate your efforts, because I absolutely agree. Small businesses are the lifeblood, not only Georgia, but of this country. So you're the perfect pick to be in this position, and we look forward to witnessing your work and seeing the difference you're going to make, because you are a difference maker. Thanks for being with us this morning. Members, if you will come to the chamber, take your seats. We have another very important, this is a invite resolution. Coming up, Mr. Chairman. Yes. We have some important guests with us this morning. Members, if you'll come to the floor and give Chairman Hatchett your attention. You know, he hasn't passed the budget yet. Members, we're about to read House Resolution 415. Not quite yet, Mr. Clerk. Members, if you have conversations, you need to take them out to the back of the chamber or to the ante rooms. We have quite an historic event that's occurring in Georgia, and this House needs to properly recognize and honor this great Georgia company. Let's give them a second to get. Okay, members, we have some guests that are leaving the South Ante room right now, so we'll give them just a moment. Doorkeeper at the South Ante room, would you please allow our guests to exit? Thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution, House Resolution 415? Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution?
House Resolution 415 by Representative Hatchett of the 155th, Burns of the 159th, Jones of the 47th, Hughley of the 141st, Burchett of the 176th, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Delta Airlines on its centennial anniversary and for other purposes. Whereas on March 2nd, 2025, Delta Airlines will celebrate 100 years of operation, becoming the first United States airline to reach the centenarian milestone. And whereas Delta Airlines was founded on March 2nd, 1925 as Huff de Land Dusters, the world's first aerial crop dusting company. And whereas operating as Delta Air Service, the airline first passenger flights took off 4 years later, and Delta established Atlanta as its headquarters in 1941. And whereas today Delta maintains a team of 100,000 people who deliver a world-class customer experience on over 4,000 daily flights, with Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport serving as Delta's largest hub. And whereas over the years Delta has grown alongside the state of Georgia and employs 36,000 Georgians while connecting the cities of Albany, Augusta, Atlanta, Brunswick, Columbus, Savannah, and Valdosta to destinations around the world. And whereas Delta's world-class connectivity strengthens Georgia's position as the top state for business and contributes to the state's economic vitality. And whereas with over 900 peak day departures to more than 200 global destinations, Delta connects thousands of people around the globe to and through Atlanta daily. And whereas Delta continues to build on its long-standing commitment to Georgia, maintaining dedicated partnerships with the state's education pipeline, from K-12 schools to the University System of Georgia and the Technical College System of Georgia to produce the next generation of aviation professionals within the state. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the members of this body recognize and commend Delta Airlines upon the grand occasion of its centennial anniversary and celebrate its century of excellence, innovation, and service.
Chairman Hatchett is recognized to speak to the resolution and introduce some guests. Chairman Hatchett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, it is truly Delta Day today. How about that? You know, it is a great honor to recognize such an important part of this state, and that is Delta Airlines, and congratulate them on their 100th anniversary. For those of you who don't know, you heard that they employ 36,000 Georgians. They are the largest private employer in our state. You may not know, I spent a little time there. I spent 6 years in various roles with Delta, and one of the greatest stories that I always like to tell people is that I'd go home and remember Lawrence County has about 50,000 residents, and I'd always get, hey, do you know so-and-so? And I'd go, do you know that Delta has more employees than we have in this whole county? So it was always fun, and I got some other stories, but I'm not going to bore everybody with those. But I want to recognize, I will recognize the CEO, I want to recognize the others that are here. Peter Carter, raise your hand when I recognize you. David Jeffman, Katie Childers, Burge Alexianian, and a very special guest, Harold Beavis. I've known Harold. Harold, I don't know if you know this, but I've known Harold for 35 years. I'm here because Harold didn't hire me to work in his department. But I reacquainted with him when I came back. But Harold was employed with Delta Airlines for 55 years. That's huge. Let's give Harold a hand. Now I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta Airlines.
Well, thank you, Matt, and Mr. Speaker, thank you for this great honor, and thank you to all the members of the Georgia House of Representatives for having us here today. And on behalf of the 100,000 Delta employees around the world, including, by the way, I think you're going to need to update the resolution until we have 37,000 employees who live and work here in the state of Georgia and call it home, it's a real honor to be with you today. 2025 is indeed a very special honor for Delta as we mark our centennial anniversary. And we are excited, and I think you all should be very excited, that we are the first U.S. airline to hit that milestone. Quite a good Georgia company leading the way as always. Can you imagine 100 years ago yesterday when this company was started in Macon as a small crop dusting company has turned into one of the world's largest airlines with the largest customer base of over 200 million. I believe personally, and I know many of you do, the very best airline in the world, and we're proud to call Georgia home. Georgia's strong pro-business climate created by the leadership in this room and all of you that work across with us a state is one of the key reasons why Delta has thrived since making our headquarters here in 1941. And we wouldn't be here without all of your support for everyone everything that you do for Delta. And I also know that many of you are loyal Delta customers as well as representing us. So thank you for making us your airline of choice. As you heard in the resolution, I'm sure you're pleased to know that we've fully restored our flying back to pre-pandemic levels, including service to all of Georgia's regional airports, including Albany, Augusta, Brunswick, Columbus, Savannah, and Valdosta. And this summer, we expect to operate our largest ever summer season out of Hartsfield-Jackson. Earlier this year, Delta was named North America's most on-time airline by Cirium for the 4th year in a row. The top U.S. airline by the Wall Street Journal, making it 7 out of the last 8 years as the top U.S. airline, and number 11 on the world's most admired list of all companies, not airlines, all companies in the world, number 11. Now, these achievements do not happen by chance. They come as a result of the great work of tens of thousands of Delta employees, as well as thousands of partners that we have that we work through our communities in the U.S. and abroad. And this centennial is our opportunity to look back at our great legacy and recognize the help that so many have given us. So as we approach our first year as a centenarian, we're going to use this moment to fuel our climb and ensure that we keep climbing for all of you. Thank you. It's a great day to be here with all of you. Thank you for all that you do to make this possible for Delta Airlines. Thank you.
We'll get some pictures now, real quick.
Ed, thanks to you and your team at Delta, and individually you've been recognized as a trustee of this great state of Georgia. Congratulations on that great honor for you personally. You know, we have any number of iconic names that are associated with Georgia. And I think when you see those names around the world, what's the next thing that pops into your head? Georgia. When you see Delta, what do you think people around the world think of? This great state of Georgia. We are very, very proud that this is Delta's home. We're appreciative of what y'all do for our state, all the great partnerships. We appreciate y'all being here today. Best of luck on another 100 years. Congratulations, thanks. Harold, maybe you and I will be around for them. What do you think? Thank you, members. Thank you, members. We'll move back to our morning orders. I'm going to remind you, you have up to 2 minutes. Representative Hilton, Reeves, Cooper, and Silcox. A great group of members here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What a wonderful day down here at the Capitol. We've got a lot of women here today. That means we're going to run this place efficiently. I know that. And we are joined by Women Lead Right up top there, established in 2021 to engage and amplify the civic and political impact of Georgia women. They educate, they engage, and they train hundreds of conservative Georgia women to dramatically impact voter engagement and grassroots level in Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Forsyth. Examples of their work include, in 2022, they identified over 33,000 women through robust calling, texting, and a postcard campaign. Fantastic work, ladies. They mentor and support our youngest female Republicans with student chapters at Georgia Tech and UGA. One of Women Lead Right's values is envisioning women as a powerful force for effecting substantive and impactful change here in Georgia. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to Women Lead Right. Thank you, ladies.
Representative Gamble and Representative Bonner recognized for a morning order. Give the gentleman your attention, please. They're going to talk about an important friend of ours. The gentleman recognized.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. Today is Taiwan Office of Economics and Cultural Office in Atlanta. It's their day at the state capitol. And in room 230 from 1 to 3 p.m., Director General Elliot Wong will be there hosting this event for all members. We have a Taiwan caucus that I want to encourage you to join because Taiwan is the U.S.'s 8th largest trading partner. And in the U.S. is Taiwan's 2nd largest trading partner with an estimated $128 billion worth of trade. Taiwan was Georgia's 15th largest import and 17th largest export market in 2023. And one last thing, I'll close with this. When Hurricane Helene hit our state, the Taiwan government donated $200,000 towards the Hurricane Helene relief here in our state, and we are very grateful for that. So please stop by and visit our friends from Taiwan this afternoon from 1 to 3 in Capitol Room 230. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representatives Reese and Representative Jackson for a morning order. Chair recognizes Representative Stinson for a morning order. Chair recognizes Representative Bant Smith and the Columbus delegation for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Glad to have other members of the Columbus delegation. We were tickled to have a 3rd grade class from St. Mark's School in Columbus, Georgia today. St. Luke, excuse me, St. Mark. St. Luke School, just seeing if they're paying attention. We were glad to have them. They were in the gallery for just a few minutes, and you don't have to stand up and welcome them, but we just want to acknowledge them. They're downstairs, and we're going to visit with them a little while at lunchtime. So thank you all very much for being so courteous to them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Reese and Representative Jackson for a morning order.
Catch your breath. Good morning, Madam Speaker. I thought the voice sounded a little bit softer. I was out of the room when the switch happened, but thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, please. This morning we are here to acknowledge Jack and Jill of America. As everyone recognized, we've had a very, very busy morning but you may have seen hundreds of young kids in pink and blue and black suits walking throughout the chambers and throughout this building. And rest assured, they represent some of the brightest children that we have right here in the state of Georgia. Jack and Jill has over 100 members here today, and they also have the national president with us here today, Ms. Darlene McGee Whittington. We have 271 chapters nationwide and over 50,000 families that engage in Jack and Jill. So if you will, please join me in giving Jack and Jill of America a round of applause for their presence with us here today at the state capitol.
Yeah.
You saw the whole sea one downstairs.
Chair recognizes Representative Stinson for a morning order.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. Today is a beautiful day in the state of Georgia. We have all the beautiful ladies in pink here today as we recognize Reign Over Cancer. Reign Over Cancer. If you would please stand. Reign Over Cancer is a nonprofit organization working to beat cancer. And we thank Reign and her team of folks that are working so hard to bring awareness to breast cancer and all the other cancers that exist. So I want to hear from Representative Derrick Jackson right quick.
Thank you, Reign. Thank you. And we have to continue to fight this cancer, all forms of cancer. Thank you for being down here. And with that,
And with that, I want everybody to know next Monday is my last day of radiation. Next Monday, my last day of radiation, yes. Thank you, Reign, thank you.
Yeah. Amen.
We're on to the rules calendar. The chair recognizes Representative Gaines. What? In just a moment. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 296. House Bill 296.
House Bill 296 by Representative Gaines to be entitled an Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to issuance, expiration, and renewal of driver's licenses so as to provide that presentation of a driver's license in a certain electronic format satisfies the requirements to possess a driver's license. This bill having referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair Gaines to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 296 is a business or a consumer-friendly bill for Georgians. We already have over 420,000 Georgians who use a digital driver's license. What this bill does is, if pulled over by a law enforcement officer, it would allow Georgians to present their digital driver's license. It's a very simple process to get a digital ID. You put in your information, the Department of Driver Services can quickly verify that, and you can have it on your iPhone, Android. TSA already allows digital driver's license when going through the TSA security line. The technology is already there on this, but we are going to allow 2 years for law enforcement to have all of its equipment ready to scan these. I will make an important note that drivers would not have to physically hand over their phone so that a law enforcement officer wouldn't have to take it back to their vehicle. It'd be tap-to-touch technology, like if you go to the store and you buy something and you use your Apple Wallet to tap-to-touch on your phone now. It'd be a very similar technology where they can verify your information with your digital driver's license. We passed this bill very similar, 168-1 last year. Representative Clay Perkle carried it at that time. And Madam Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions.
There are questions. The chair recognizes Representative Cannon for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you yield?
I do.
Just a question about line 26. If I'm looking at the correct LC number, it says that for for voting, you would have to have a physical form of your driver's license. I didn't hear you speak to that part of the bill. Can you address that?
Sure, that's not a change in current law or how the process currently works. You'll notice throughout the bill there's a couple different, whether it's hunting and fishing license or on at the voting booth, those agencies are not quite ready, and so that's why that's included.
Okay, do you further yield?
Sure.
Why would you say that our state's not ready to do digital ID for voting?
Poll workers don't have the technology to verify the digital driver's license, whereas law enforcement does have that technology.
Do you further yield?
Sure.
What is that technology that that department doesn't have, and how much would it cost to get it to them?
I don't have that information, but I can tell you law enforcement officers, when they're able to verify those digital driver's licenses with a scan to or tap to touch technology, whereas poll workers, wouldn't have that technology yet.
Chair recognizes Chairman Corbett for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that this bill includes privacy safeguards to ensure officers can only access the information necessary for verification?
Yes, sir.
And it is not true that this bill should be known as the Clay Perkle Britches Bill of 2024?
That is true.
There are no more questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine.
Okay. Okay.
Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Campbell rise?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is it not parliamentary inquiry?
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that on line 106 of this bill, it requires law enforcement officers to acquire equipment capable of verifying a license issued in an electronic format? And we could have included such a line for voting if we had chosen to do so?
I'm sure the lady knows of what she speaks. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 154, the nays were 17. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 358. House Bill 358.
House Bill 358 by Representative Smith of the 138th and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 217 of the Official Code of Georgia and Territory relating to prohibiting the acquisition of possessory interest in certain land by foreign persons and entities. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Smith to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 358 is a definition only. This bill came through the Rules Judiciary Committee, thanks to the chairman and the committee members. It lines 10 through 12, strictly a definition of military installation. We've had legislation pass this body in the past, and this is just for clarification on that legislation. So without any questions, Madam Speaker, I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
You have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Representative Al for a question. To your left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
In the
Will
back.
the gentleman yield? Back here.
Yes, ma'am.
Two questions. First, I understand that this is an extension of a bill we passed last year, which was SB 420, which precludes what is determined to be agents of hostile foreign governments from buying certain types of property. With this extension of the definitions, have you actually tabulated or mapped the number and the locations of the new facilities that would be included in these definitions?
No, ma'am, I don't. I could get that, but I don't have it with me.
The reason I ask is because if you are precluding a 10-mile radius from each of these new facilities, which in my reading could include a storage facility, housing, a filing cabinet for Coast Guard personnel, that seems to include a lot more land, which is why I asked that question. The second question, will the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The second question regards the original legislation to which this is extending, which is, do you agree that state agencies are not equipped to identify who would be an agent of a foreign government, and therefore the downside effects of this original legislation and extending its effect could pose discriminatory effect on individuals seeking to buy property from certain areas of the world?
I think state agencies are probably well equipped to identify who these people are.
Will the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am. For one
How
more.
is a state agency resourced to investigate who is an agent of a foreign government?
You're going to have to repeat that. I couldn't understand you.
I was saying, how is a state agency equipped to investigate who is an agent of a foreign government?
I think they'd have the capabilities of using any means to make that identification.
All right. Thank you so much. I will be voting no on this bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll yield the will and ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 120, the nays were 50. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 89. House Bill 89.
House Bill 89 by Representative Cooper, the 45th to be entitled Act to amend Chapter 2A of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Department of Public Health so as to require health care providers, health care facilities, and pharmacies to provide the Maternal Mortality Review Committee with psychiatric or other clinical records. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Public and Community Health. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Okay. The chair recognizes Chairman Cooper to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the House, I bring to you today the substitute to House Bill 89. Across our state, in working to improve our standing and prevent maternal mortality cases in our state, we are establishing regional parental care centers. And what the bill does is sets up a committee that will look at these centers, will set parameters for how they function in order to make them more cohesive, and we will be establishing, hopefully, more of them across our state. It also specifies who will do autopsies when there is a maternal death, because there was some question of whether it should, where it should be, the body should be sent. And it is also, we have had a problem when a mother has died after a delivery, that getting psychiatric information about them. People and physicians and hospitals have been very reluctant to give us that information, and it is essential to knowing the cause and what happened to him and seeing if their psychiatric disorder or what they were treating for was any cause. That is what the bill does, and if there are no questions, Madam Speaker, I will yield the well.
There are no questions, and the lady has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Cannon to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Here to speak in support of this measure. Wanted to just really address what we know is that we have to do things differently here in Georgia as it relates to maternal mortality. Many folks would remember last legislative session, we spent a number of our days here sharing statistics and sharing stories of people who had passed away, and also sharing ideas. Many of these ideas here really talk to the social determinants of health, not just if the issue was a pregnancy-related death or a pregnancy-associated death, but really gets to the social determinants of health. I'm really happy that we have included transportation as an issue. Y'all heard me speak to this just a few weeks ago. We had to get somebody in Uber to Alabama from Clayton County in order to get some healthcare resources that she needed at that time because of her extenuating circumstances with her pregnancy. And in real time, I think what we're learning with the maternal mortality crisis is we cannot continue to ignore that it is happening disproportionately to Black women. We have to, in fact, lean in and say that it's not only Black women, but it's rural women. And it has to do with transportation. And so I'm just super grateful that this bill is moving forward. I would ask for your support. And I'd also ask that everybody lean into the Department of Public Health annual review that happens. We passed a law a few years ago that said that they can't be any more than 2 or 3 years behind on their data. And so they have been publishing these reports. We typically get one on our desk every year, and we've created a bit.ly to make it easier for the public to access that information as well. That report is at bit.ly/mmreportGA and bit.ly/GA maternal mortality. I did want to speak to really kind of a awkward moment that happened in Georgia's history with the Maternal Mortality Review Committee, which was that there were a number of individuals who were serving on that committee from Morehouse School of Medicine, who even started the committee, doctors of public health from Grady Hospital, and they were all disbanded at one time this year, meaning that there were no members who were serving on that Maternal Mortality Review Committee. And so we did ask for an amendment to say that ultimately that the MMRC, if we were opening up the code to talk about the MMRC, why don't we include something that says that the MMRC could never be bare, that the MMRC should always have members on it, regardless of the circumstance. And unfortunately, that amendment was not included here. But I do think that because we're talking about the Maternal Mortality Review Committee, we have to continue to pour in resources like this perinatal regional commission that's being started. And so we hope that for those members who are currently disbanded from the Maternal Mortality Review Committee, that they will possibly be put onto this committee because they were actually found to not have done anything wrong. They couldn't find anybody who actually did anything wrong. And so hopefully they will be appointed to this new commission. And even if not, we're hopeful that those who have applied to be reinstated or to become new members of the MMRC will able to be put on that committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. For what purpose does Chairman Cooper rise?
I wanted to ask the gentlelady if she would respond to a question.
The lady has yielded the well. The lady waves. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. For what purpose does Representative McQueen rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that without a full picture of the medical and mental health challenges faced by black mothers in rural Georgia, our state cannot craft effective policies to reduce mental mortality, and that this piece of legislation is a necessary step in closing this dangerous information gap?
I'm sure the lady knows of what she speaks. For what purpose does Representative Osteen rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Madam Speaker, is it not true that House Bill 89 builds upon Georgia's ongoing efforts to address maternal mortality by enhancing data access, improving perinatal care oversight, and ensuring a more comprehensive approach to preventing maternal deaths?
I'm sure the lady knows of which she speaks. And for what purpose does Chairman Cooper rise?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Is it not true that we already have a new maternal mortality group meeting? They met last week and they are functioning, and everybody that has been appointed to them, and they represent people from all areas and specialties related to mortality deaths. And is it not true that the reason we had to have a new committee is that when you are dealing with this type of death, it is imperative that information about the death is not shared with anyone except members of that committee. And unfortunately, someone did. They would not own up to what they had let out about the committee. And unfortunately, no one would tell anyone what had happened. So it was felt by the governor and the Commissioner of Public Health that we started over again with a new committee for fresh eyes on this problem. And it is functioning and working. Thank you very much.
I'm sure the lady has the information of which she speaks. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 168, the nays were 7. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 186? 186.
House Bill 186 by Representative Ridley, the 22nd to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48.5C1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to alternative ad valorem taxation of motor vehicles and title ad valorem tax fee. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Jordan Ridley is recognized to present the bill. Representative Ridley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I stand to present House Bill 186. It's only 20 lines long. All we're doing is eliminating the death tax on automobiles to help people in a time of mourning when they just lost a loved one. Their immediate family doesn't have to pay a tax on inheriting that automobile. And with that, I'll yield for questions.
The gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Sharp arise? He waves. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 186, the yeas are 171, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 290, 290?
House Bill 290 by Representative Carson, the 46th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1, Title 4080 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions of revenue and taxation, so as revised the term Internal Revenue Code and Internal Revenue Code of 1986. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
The gentleman from the 46th, Representative John Carson, is recognized to present the bill. Representative Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House members, I bring to you our annual Internal Revenue Code update, House Bill 290. All this really does is make sure that our Title 48 in regard to income taxation is in sync and as much as possible with the Internal Revenue Code in effect for 2024. It has a very minimal impact of a potential revenue loss to us of about $700,000 for 2026, and that really has to do with there was two changes made at the federal level. One in regard to VETT, or VSO, or Veteran Service Organization Equal Tax Treatment Acts. These are 501c19s in regard to the grants that they receive. And the second is in regard to the Federal Disaster Relief Act. But the disasters covered in that really don't affect Georgia. One was in regard to wildfires, and we haven't had one since 2017. And then the other is in regard to the East Palestine train derailment in Ohio, so neither one of those would affect Georgia. Very minimal impact. A number of accountants are awaiting this update so we can start filing our taxes. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for a question, but if there's no questions, I will yield to Will.
You have a question to your left. Representative Kelly is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Chairman Carson, isn't it true by that aligning our state tax code with the federal tax code, we're simplifying compliance costs and the times necessary for compliance for both the individuals and businesses across our state?
Absolutely, absolutely, Representative. The gentleman knows what he speaks. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask for the body's favorable consideration, and I will yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 290, the yeas are 176, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 327?
House Bill 327 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 7 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to financial institutions, to amend Chapter 6B and Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Georgia power of attorney, and to amend Code Section 159127 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to concurrent jurisdiction with superior courts. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Leverett is recognized to present the bill. Chairman Leverett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 327 is basically the sort of semi-annual, or every few years, the fiduciary law section of the State Bar submits a rewrite bill to us that is primarily just clean up and sort of changes due to sort of practice issues that have been located or determined by different practitioners. This is it's high voltage stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like the Internal Revenue Code revision before me. This is the section of the bar that deals with wills and trusts and probate and intestate succession. So it's largely just administrative provisions, kind of cleaning up conforming sections of the trust code to similar provisions in the banking code, for example. So again, really high voltage stuff, and I'm glad to stand and answer any questions you may have about any of the provisions of the bill.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would appreciate your affirmative vote for House Bill 327.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there an objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Shepherd. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 327, the yeas are 176, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Hey, members, y'all want some good news? It's Monday. It's a great day to be a Georgian. News flash. I don't know which camera we're looking at, which camera we're utilizing, but today, our own beloved Chief of Staff, former member of this body, Terry England, stood up 3 times with no pain. Thanks to a group of wonderful staff members at Shepherd's. Thank you to you members. Thank you to Cindy. But thanks to the good Lord, he's on the road back. It's a great day to be a Georgian. It's a great day to be a friend of Terry England. I know y'all agree with me. Thank you, members. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 413?
House Bill 413 by Representative Jenkins, the 136th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding agriculture so as to prohibit local ordinances that prohibit the operation of mobile sawmills on agricultural lands. This bill having referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative David Jenkins is recognized to present the bill.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, today I rise to present House Bill 413, a measure that upholds the rights of our farmers and landowners while promoting economic development and opportunity in Georgia's agricultural industry. This legislation ensures that mobile sawmills can continue to operate on agricultural land without unnecessary local restrictions that stifle innovation and productivity. Georgia has long been a state that values and supports agriculture, forestry, and rural economic development. Mobile sawmills provide a valuable service by allowing landowners to process timber efficiently on site, reducing cost, increasing sustainability, and supporting local economies. House Bill 413 protects the rights of those who work the land by prohibiting local governments from enacting ordinances that ban the operation of mobile sawmills on agricultural property. This bill is not about removing oversight, but about ensuring that common sense agricultural practices are not hindered by unnecessary regulations. Landowners should have the freedom to manage and utilize their timber resources without interference that negatively impacts their livelihood. This legislation also promotes sustainability. Much of the wood that's processed in these mobile mills would either wind up in a landfill or be burned or otherwise go to waste. By allowing mobile sawmills to operate freely, we empower farmers, encourage responsible land management, and create new opportunities for small businesses and rural communities. Colleagues, House Bill 413 is a simple yet important measure to support Georgia's agricultural industry on responsible land use. It respects property rights, promotes economic growth, and reinforces our state's long-standing commitment to agriculture. I urge each of you to vote in favor of this bill and ensure that our farmers and landowners can continue to thrive without unnecessary interference. With that, I yield for questions.
The gentleman has a couple of questions to your left, right down front. Whip Park is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
So, I'm always a little guarded with respect to undermining local control. So if you could help clarify a few things, that'd be greatly appreciated. Are there currently any local jurisdictions, cities or counties that have passed an ordinance that prohibits these mobile sawmills?
So, first off, this bill in no way affects local control. The Georgia Constitution empowers local governments to enact zoning, and this doesn't affect that at all. I refer to line 35 and 36. Basically says this code section shall not prohibit or impair the power of any local government to adopt or enforce any zoning ordinance or make any other zoning decision. What that means is basically our local governments can decide where we farm. They control agricultural zoning, but if they say that we can farm, then we can farm. The state does prevent local governments from dictating agricultural practices on animal husbandry, crop rotation, and other things, but they can decide where we farm.
Will you yield for one more question?
Sure.
Could you help clarify, and I appreciate the conversation and the education.
Yes.
Could you help clarify where ACCG and GMA are in the bill? Are they neutral? So were they supportive, opposed?
I would say neutral. I informed ACCG. I did not talk to GMA about it. Actually, I did talk to GMA as well, and they didn't provide any input.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, further yield?
I do.
Let's see. Chairlady Lynn Smith, up the center aisle to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you. First of all, gentlemen, yield.
I always will yield to you, Lynn.
So, first of all, is it not true that we're seeing in the news now and understanding that forest fires are now becoming more of a problem in the whole eastern part of the United States? Is it further not true, giving these owners this opportunity to have this practice, we in fact are preventing forest fires as well as other good husbandry? Thank you.
We absolutely are. We're removing rubbish and creating something that people can buy and use and making products out of it.
To your left, Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
So I think this is a follow-up to Mr. Whipp's question. In particular, I would love to know where this idea came from. Was there an instance where someone tried to prohibit a mobile sawmill from operating on private property?
There have been instances where people have tried, or local governments have tried to prohibit these from operating on private property. And I'll just tell you where I came from. I grew up on a small farm. I have a small farm now. My family's land was right on the outskirts of Peachtree City, and what I found so often is that although the community thrives on the green spaces we create and the clean air that we help them breathe, sometimes they don't understand our business practices, and it becomes hard to do business in places like that. So I think that's kind of what we may have seen with that. Again, this just clarifies it as an agricultural practice. So if they decide that there will be farms there, and again, they have the power to do that with their local zoning, then that farmer can farm.
And does the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
So if this is happening now, and you're saying that they cannot, we are going to preempt them from saying you can have mobile sawmills, but they can do zoning, is there any concern that then these local municipalities will just say, well, then you cannot have farmland here?
So they do control agricultural zoning, I would say, and that's a legal question about zoning. Once you have zoning, changing your zoning usually requires the property owner to be involved in that, or at least be able to dispute it. So if someone has agriculturally zoned property that they're farming, that's a process to take that zoning away from someone that's using it. I will say that in the metro area, they tend to be very stingy with that zoning because it is quite permissive. It allows farm activity to occur, and typically affects setbacks and heights of buildings and a lot of other things that they grant. So they're it's typically they're not very permissive by granting it.
All right. So does the gentleman yield for one final, really quick?
We have several questions now.
Sorry, this is very quick. So if this bill basically says you cannot stop someone from using a mobile sawmill, and you've said basically even if they do have the ability for zoning, it's very unlikely that they would stop someone from having an agricultural zoning. Is this not a preemption bill?
I don't follow how that would be a preemption bill. If the state of Georgia doesn't allow local municipalities to dictate agricultural practices, and we convey zoning to local governments, we've changed nothing. We've just clarified that it's an agricultural practice, and they can zone, and we can clarify our state law on what an agricultural practice is.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for the questions. The gentleman yield to Chairman Tarvin to your right in the back has a question.
Go ahead.
Gentleman yield.
I yield.
You may have answered this, but some of these mobile sawmills may be able to be pulled behind trucks even. They work off a bandsaw system. I believe that's correct.
That's correct, and that's what this applies to. The bill actually specifies trailer mounted, and that's essentially an effort to address scale. Commercial sawmills have equipment to onload and offload and handle the waste and such as that, and this basically addresses scale.
Follow-up question. Wouldn't this be true that a small to medium-sized farm, in the cases of the hurricanes and winds we've had, would enable them to clean up their land, get started back quicker than having to haul and back and forth to a sawmill and make it more profitable for the farming landowner?
It absolutely would.
Thanks, sir.
Gentleman, yield for another question.
I'll yield for one more.
Representative Joe Campbell's had his button pushed to your right. Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that HB 413 protects Georgia's farmers and landowners by ensuring they can use mobile sawmills on their property without unnecessary local restrictions?
You got it. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose is Representative Tran rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that this past weekend we had 137 wildfires burning across 2,400 acres?
I'm sure the gentleman knows of what he speaks, and I think this bill is an effort to take away some of that fuel. For what purpose is Representative Huddleston rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, sir.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that HB 413 upholds Georgia's long-standing commitment to supporting agriculture?
I'm sure the gentleman believes that, and he knows it to be true. For what purpose is Representative Park Cannon rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that mobile sawmills release carbon that's stored in trees back to the atmosphere?
Yeah, and people live with that lumber too, and certainly I think part of the question, a lot of the things that some questions on, I think, are grandfathered in if it's an existing use. For what purpose does Representative Jordan Ridley rise?
Parliamentarian inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that this bill simply prevents local governments from enacting unnecessary bans on mobile sawmills while still allowing for reasonable oversight and safety regulations?
I think the gentleman is correct. He knows of what he speaks. I think all members have voted. All members have voted. So if you will, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 413, the yeas are 162, the nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 416.
House Bill 416 by Representative Stration, the 104th and others to be titled an act to amend Chapter 88 entitled 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to enterprise zones, so as revised the class of retailer from which fees may be collected. This bill having referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Leader Illustration is recognized to present the bill. Mr. Leader.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you today House Bill 416. Several years ago, I carried a bill to create what are called enterprise zones, specifically with an eye toward downtown Atlanta, the area around what was the Georgia Dome and is now Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This legislation was utilized to actually create an enterprise zone. That's an area with chronic undevelopment for 20-plus years and a commitment for a $400 million investment. Unfortunately, after the bill was passed and signed into law, there was a delay due to local politics. The local council had to approve the project to move forward. House Bill 416 that's before you today is an effort to resolve these issues to ensure that we stick to the original timeline that was proposed when the General Assembly passed the original bill. This bill closes a loophole that could allow businesses that do not operate within the enterprise zone from utilizing that classification. With the World Cup to begin in June 2026, with a real focus on a need to make sure that our capital city reflects just how great we all know it to be, I'd ask for your favorable consideration of HB 416. I'm happy to answer any questions.
The gentleman has no questions.
I'll yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 416, the yeas are 172, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 378?
House Bill 378 by Representative Moptahan of the 17th and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 7, and Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to practice and procedure relative to the state courts of counties, so as to provide for the online publishing of terms of state court. This bill I refer to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Montahan is recognized to present the bill. Representative Montahan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. Today I rise to present House Bill 378, a simple piece of legislation designed to enhance transparency, accessibility, and efficiency in our state courts across Georgia. Currently, the terms of court, those timelines that dictate when cases must be filed, tried, and resolved, are often difficult for attorneys, defendants, and victims, and the public to find. In some jurisdictions, these terms are inconsistently posted, requiring individuals to call the clerk's office or appear in person just to obtain some very basic information. And this lack of accessibility can lead to missed deadlines and unnecessary confusion for all parties involved in the legal proceeding. House Bill 378 fixes this by requiring each state court clerk to publish and maintain the terms of court on a publicly accessible website. This is a common sense, pro-transparency reform that ensures court schedules are easy to find, eliminating unnecessary barriers to legal proceedings. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for a couple of questions if there are any.
The gentleman has a couple of questions he'll yield.
I will yield.
Representative Hong, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Isn't it true that different counties have term of court? It varies per county, and it's important for practicing attorneys like myself to know the term of court, to file crucial pleadings within the term of court?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, and that's what this legislation aims to resolve.
Thank you for the bill.
I'll yield for one more, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Park Cannon to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
I yield.
Does every county's clerk of court have a website in Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have. I would imagine they do. Not every county has a state court. So I guess the ones that have one, they would have one. That's
so if they don't have one, are they going to create one? How does this bill impact them if they don't have one?
They would need to publish it. So the underlying language here says that they've got to post it on a website. So if they don't have one, they must be producing this information for the public and for practicing attorneys both.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? That's it, isn't it? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 378, the yeas are 162, the nays are 11. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Okay, members, we're getting ready to, as y'all seen, we do have a supplemental calendar today. We're going to take a break and then come back. I'm sure all of you have noticed what's on your desk. Is it on your desk, Mr. Chairman? The amended budget is on your desk. We'll take it up as soon as we get back, so we can have some of that outstanding budget priorities to get out and help Georgians. So we'll take it up as soon as we get back. If you have a page today, I'll meet you down front with your page as soon as we recess here, so we can take some page photos. We're going to recess until 1:30, but before we do that, don't leave. We have a couple of announcements, then we're going to have some privilege resolutions. Representative Tran needs to give us some information that's important to us. Leader of Illustration, while he's coming, why don't you go ahead and, for the sake of expedite the process, Representative Tran, if you will stand down just for a moment. Leader of Illustration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a committee chairman's lunch in room 403 upon the break. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Representative Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CAB delegation, we have a meeting in room 502 upon adjournment. Again, that's room 502, the CAB delegation, and lunch is provided. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tran. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and Kari Omari Burns and recognizing March 8th, 2025 as Infant Emergency Awareness Day, commending the McDonough High School Navy Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps Wallhawk Battalion, recognizing the historical significance of the 1911 Rand McNally map of Dawson County, commending Jack and Jill of America, recognizing the historical significance of the 1911 Rand McNally map of White County, Georgia, recognizing and commending LaShawnia Turner, commending Alori Atuwatsi III, recognizing the historical significance of the 1911 Rand-McNally map of Lumpkin County, Georgia, expressing support for families affected by premature births, congratulating the Toombs County High School football team for winning the 2024 GHSA Class A Division I State Football Championship, and commending the Miss Georgia Peep Scholarship pageant, and congratulating the 2024 Georgia Peach Queens. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? Hearing none, the resolutions are adopted. Okay, here's our posture again. We're going to be in recess until 1:30 p.m. 1:30 p.m. Then we'll take up the supplemental calendar that y'all have on your desk. Top of that list will be taking up the amended budget. So we have a little work to do this afternoon. I look forward to seeing y'all back here at 1:30. Again, if you have a page, join me down front. This house will be in recess until 1:30 p.m. Thank you, members.